dodge it. Smoothie resets. Minions still there. The hero there for C9. Afro dead. Cloud9. Looks like they are going to do it. The hearts of CL defense shatter. Cloud9 barely make good on their promise. Your final team at the 2017 World Championship.
Hello and welcome to NALCS Tonight. I'm Daniel Degon Gonzalez, and joining me fresh off the cast are Jat and Azael. Guys, how's it going?
Kobe died, Zyrene's out, me and Azael from here on out.
Bam.
Yep.
New crew.
Last two remaining. Who's next, Jat?
Yeah.
I gotta wake up really early for the World's Draw Show on Tuesday, so I don't know about
So there you go. So maybe you're going down, then it'll only be me.
And then there's only one. The big brain.
Yeah.
The big brain is the only one left. Let's go ahead and get into it by taking a look at this last series that just wrapped up here. Cloud9 and CLG. Cloud9 taking this one 3-1 after a great series.
And this one was so much fun. I mean, it really could have gone either way. 3-1 doesn't really feel like it does it justice, because I would say Game 2 could have gone CLG's way. Certainly Game 4 could have gone CLG's way also.
Yeah, it's such a close game, right? And this keeps happening, actually, in big NA games where we get an amazing Game 4, but then we just don't get a Game 5 because it's 3-1 for some reason. It even happened to C9 against Dignitas in the quarterfinals. That was a great Game 4 as well. So this time, C9 gets the fortuitous ending to those incredibly close series for the one that really counts.
And I mean, in the grand finals as well, TSM Immortals, right?
Yeah.
The Game 4, Immortals so far ahead, TSM come back, and then you're like, it's going to, oh wait, it's not going to.
This game, like specifically Game 4. Game 2 was crazy, Game 3 had its crazy moments, but Game 4 was absolutely insane. Especially with Sneaky's superhero performances. I mean, I think oftentimes, or even we did it a little bit in the early game of the cast, underestimating how strong Xayah Janna can be, right? Because so many supports haven't done the solo queue thing where you're doing the super shielder with an ardent sensor, because initiation is actually just incredibly important, and most of the time is the most important thing, but able to outcarry the Trist by far in that game with the Janna help.
And I mean, especially in combination with a Deathcap Orianna on top of that, right? Like, those shields are enormous, and they're getting the speed ups, they're getting so much power into Sneaky, and I was really impressed with how he shifted his playstyle around that, right? Like the kind of plays he was making, how aggressively he was moving and flashing in, I don't think you can do in a normal game, and he adjusted to the context of that game, and I think played incredibly well.
Right, and there's been so many Xayah plays so far in the NALCS that there was a question about why it continually got picked, because it wasn't finding success, especially in the Tristana versus Xayah kind of matchup, but Korea had always found the success, and Sneaky definitely did that today. Yeah,
well, we didn't see Stixxay pull off the Featherstorms right. It's the slipperiness of the character and the way it punishes you for trying to engage on it is the strength. And then it is sneakily good in the late game with the crit scaling, the damage amp, and the attack speed boost you can get, which is often kind of overlooked when you don't see it snowball in the game. So, I mean, I still think the carries can be close, and really it's just in how you execute.
One of the things that's always really interesting to me, too, in the really late game fights is there's so many high power spells you have to track, right? And then there's all these feathers around that can really blend into the background. It's so hard to, I think, actually track all the feathers in a fight. You step forward a little bit too far, you get rooted up by that blade caller, like, that's the fight.
Yep, and that's its own snare there. We're talking about initiation. You have it there in the Xayah. CLG doing a great job making it a series, especially with their pickup they had with Omar and, you know, questions surrounding them after that. They make it all the way here to the last spot, so props to them. And, you know, it kind of feels bad because that seemed like a team that was worthy of making it out there to Worlds.
Yeah, I mean, both CLG and C9, based on their pedigree of making it to Worlds all the time, it's going to be a little strange not seeing them there, right? CLG's only missed 1 year. C9 didn't go in Season 1 or 2 because they didn't exist.
Right.
And beyond that, they've already gone. So Immortals stepped up, deserved it. CLG, it's going to be a long offseason, man, because they've, as Stixxay said, had so many chances to make it into Worlds. And even this one, like, they were playing at a level that could be worthy of a Worlds NA team, but they could not get it done in the clutchest moments.
And I mean, I think it speaks to the improvement of the NALCS as a whole, or to at least the parity, right? That it does feel like there are a number of teams who really were deserving to go that couldn't all go. And it's got to be super disappointing for CLG, especially to me, coming off of 2016. Now, when you look at their year as a whole, they had the greatest performance, I think, of any NA team at MSI, 2016, right? And people are like, Well, it's only up from here for CLG, and you look into 2017, fall out in the quarters to FlyQuest, to a reverse sweep, don't get to go to MSI. Now, they're not getting to go to Worlds. The peak performance for CLG in all of 2017 is a third-place finish, and that's just not good enough for an organization with these expectations.
Hey, man, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. They were 0-2 against ANX in the group stage. There's a chance they're in Gambit's group in the play-in, which is only a 3-team group.
There it is. Can't lose to a wild card if you don't make it to Worlds. But a team that is going to Worlds is Cloud9. They're going to slot into that final play-in slot here as we take a look at the play-in stage here. And we'll talk about that a little bit. There's going to be eight teams from the major regions, plus the 4 teams from China, NA, EU, and LMS be playing against these teams as you see here. They'll play in a play-in and then make it into a group stage.
Yeah, specifically, the simplest way I can talk about the play-in stage is that it's 4 groups of 3, and only 1 team gets eliminated from all of those groups. The major regions, the Fnatic, C9, WE, as well as the team from the LMS are all going to be Pool 1 seeds, so they will not be in the same groups of each other. And then one will play 2 from the other groups down the road. So what could end up happening is if like Fnatic, C9, or W stumble in group stage and get a number 2 seed, there's a chance they actually ramp up against each other in a best of 5 to make it into the World's groups.
Yeah, exactly. And the other team is Hong Kong Attitude, and they have been a team that's relatively inconsistent. When you think of the LMS, it's always been kind of that 2-team league, right?
Yep.
And you know, it only takes one of these teams, as you said, slipping up one time. You know, what if WE slips up and then you're Cloud9 and you have WE as your series to get into Worlds? That's like, oh God.
But I really like this as well. Like, LMS has been calling for the 3rd seed. Now Hong Kong Attitude is going to have a chance to prove their way into the World Championship. And also, as we've now had like pretty successful esports leagues in 13 of the major regions, instead of making them all just like battle royale to get the 1 spot, like if they deserve it, they get 5. They already have the Gigabyte Marines in Pool 2. They could theoretically knock out all the other major regions if they perform well enough. So I really like the chance they have to earn their way into the group stage.
It's also super cool to keep in mind the fact that when you think about Gigabyte Marines almost taking down TSM, going into MSI, that was a number 1 seed, right? Yeah. These are number 3 seeds that are going to be facing off against the best teams from each of their individual regions. So there really is, I think, a chance for some upsets, and I'm actually super, super excited for the play-ins because, yeah, if they beat our 3 seed, then they deserve to go, right? They deserve to be there, and they can earn those spots.
All right, we have the teams that came out from MSI. We've got teams with pedigree like Gambit Gaming, and, you know, my sneak team. I'll say it once, I'll say it twice, I'll say it 3 times. Fenerbahce Esports, baby! From Turkey. They're a great team. Keep an eye on them as we move forward through the play-in stage. But then after that, we have our group stages, which we have TSM and Immortals representing us here for North America. As we take a look here on the screen, Korea gets their auto seed with Samsung Galaxy taking it back into the 3rd seed, SKT and Longzhou there. But those are our teams moving right on in to the group stage.
And one of the things that's a little bit sad as an NA fan, if you've forgotten or if you blocked it out of your memory, we lost our number 1 seed at MSI, so we actually have 2 number 2 seeds, unfortunately, which means you can theoretically end up with an even harder group. So we'll have to see, how that all pans out on the group draw, which is going to be Tuesday morning, I think.
Yeah, 5 a.m. Pacific time. So if you're a European viewer watching NA LCS tonight, thank you, and you're going to be able to watch for a reasonable hour.
Perfect.
If not, you should wake up because the different permutations of this group stage have such an impact. Like there's a theoretical draw, right, where TSM could be in a group with the Gigabyte Marines, Misfits, and then whoever comes out of the play and draw, which is actually not drawn until later on. So, or they could be in a group with SKT and Flash Wolves, right? Like there's so many different things that set up the World's run these teams are going to have to make.
Well, let's speak about TSM a little bit here. You've got Bjerg, you've got Double, and this team seems poised to make a run, different than teams in the past. And Double have had his break to recover, feel like he's a rejuvenated young AD carry, fresh on the world stage. And what are their chances moving in, starting with TSM?
I mean, I think a lot of it is going to come down to what the group draw is, right? Last year, there was so much confidence in TSM going into Worlds. People had them pegged as a top 4 team. The fact of the matter is, I didn't feel that their rookies showed up. I didn't think that Biofrost or Haunter had a good Worlds at all. And they were only 1 game away from making it a group. So you would have to say, hey, now they have a lot more experience under the belt. They did that Worlds. They went to MSI. They had Rift Rivals. Now they're going again. So you would expect them to do better. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is the level across the board is so high that it's hard to say. Yeah,
don't have amazing expectations for them, but there's definitely a chance. I'm not willing to write them off. And based on the playoff performances or the growth that I have seen out of Biofrost and Haunter this year, I think we're seeing, even in the regional qualifier here, how much of a team game it is and how everyone needs to be able to step up.
Right. Yeah.
Jensen can dominate lane all he wants, but they're going to lose in the quarterfinals until Sneaky comes in, gets 9 kills on Xayah, and helps them clutch it, right? Jensen made just as many big plays in this series as he did during the regular season, but when Impact is performing well instead of feeding in the top lane, like those are the things that clutch it through. So if Biofrost and Hanser don't perform, TSM's not going to perform no matter what Bjergsen and Double F do. So the whole team needs to step up, and I think they're in a better position to do that this year than they were last year.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm at least willing to say I think that they're a favorite to make it out of groups. You know, past that, I don't know that, you know, it's fair to say, oh yeah, of course they're going to make the semifinals, right? Like, I'm not willing to make that prediction, especially after we got burned last year. But I think they should at least get out of groups. Like, that's, I think, a good baseline.
Well, let's take a look at a team that made some changes to create a better team composition and create a better team environment, which was Immortals. They finished second. They're also heading on over to Worlds. This team here has played around many different lanes, and I think they bode well moving into Worlds as well.
Yeah, this is as bright of a dark horse as you could have for North America, if that makes sense, just because they don't have the Worlds pedigree. Immortals has never been to Worlds. They do have some players with the international experience like Xmithy, and it will depend on how the Worlds meta shakes out a little bit, right? Xmithy and Ole have such good synergy and initiate so well that if that is the meta and they are in a good on the same page going into Worlds, they can make a lot of noise and surprise a lot of people who are only looking at, you know, the big names like C9 and TSM. If you're coming at this from like a different region, are you really gonna worry about Immortals when there's SKT and Longju and EDG and all these G2 teams that have had success going into Worlds?
And while I agree, I think they could surprise some teams, to me, they are a team that, for me to think they'll get out of groups, they would have to get one of the easier groups, right? They would have to get a really favorable draw, because some of the things that worry me are some of the things that actually plagued TSM when you think of last year's Worlds, right? So they have some experience with Smithy, but they also have new players. They have guys that are going to be susceptible to nerves, and I think we saw even a lot of those nerves in the NA finals against TSM. We saw some of these players actually really underperforming at moments that were very important and swung the series. And when you think of Worlds as an even bigger stage with even more pressure, the first time that they're there, you know, are they going to be able to play at the level that we want them to for them to be able to perform?
Cody Sun can't get picked off as much as he got picked off in the NA finals at Worlds if they want to make it to out of the group stage.
So that's the key there for them. Cody
That's
Sun.
one of the many keys.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like you have players like
defined weakness.
But you have players like Flame and Xmithy and Pobelt, who also went to the World Championship, that I feel like have so much World Championship pedigree, right, to their experience to go ahead and negate that. And especially after we heard Ole in his interview with Dash earlier in the season, or for finals, where he was like, yeah, you know, Cody Sun and I had a little bit of issue after the first split. We got 7th, and we worked together to work through those things. I think the NA finals was a great experience for them to have those nerves, move beyond that to prepare them for Worlds.
I do agree, but there's always, it's a different level, right? When you talk about a guy like Pobelter, I think he's a strong North American mid laner. Do I think he's in the top 3 of NA? No. Do I think, you know, he's in the top group at Worlds? No, not even close. When you think of some of the guys that are going, you know, you have Bjergsen, you have Faker, you have like BDD, you have Perks, you have all these guys, Maple, Xiaohu, Xiao. Like, there's so many that are, oh my God, this guy is amazing, that even if, you know, a player like Pobelter is playing at their best, do I favor them in any of those matchups? No, I don't. And I think that's the really telling part about Worlds, is that there's so many individual talents that are so incredible that even a player like Bjergsen is not favored really against almost any of those.
It's crazy.
And you don't feel like the group stage aspect gives NA any more better chance now that we have, you know, a little bit of
a shot. Yeah. I think that teams will get out of groups from North America. You know, not all, but I certainly would be shocked if not even one got out of groups. But I do not think that Immortals is a favorite to get out of a group.
Yeah.
All right.
But once again, depends on the draw.
Yeah, depends on the draw, which will happen Tuesday, September 12th, 5 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Eastern. So make sure you set your clocks, and we'll see you there. Tweet out your favorite analyst, because all of us are going to be up taking a look at the draw show, so make sure you're there.
Bright and early.
You know,
dark and early.
Dark and early. Well, dark and early here, bright and early over in the East Coast. That's going to do it here for us on LCS Tonight. I'm Degon. Thank you very much, Dat and Azale, and we'll see you guys early in the morning. Set your alarm clocks for the draw show. Take care.